All right, great. Welcome all to the Career Carnival 2020, unleashing your potential in the financial world. What a lovely Saturday that we are spending some quality time together. This will be the last and closing forum of the event. It's a senior leadership forum with a title Future Ready Talent. The word senior suggests that we could be the most senior group here by the average age as compared to the rest. On the other hand, this could also suggest that it's a heavyweight forum, right? There will be lots of wisdom that could be downloaded today. So please continue to stay awake throughout the forum. First and foremost, I'm very pleased to introduce three highly distinguished panelists. I suppose lady first. Dato Nora, a household name in Malaysia. She's currently the Group Chief Human Capital Officer and board members of selected Maybank entity. She contributes significantly to talent development and women leadership initiative in the industry. A truly inspirational female leader in Malaysia. Thanks for being here, Dato.
Thank you, Justin.
And not forgetting, today is a 60th birthday of Maybank. Not many of us would know that Maybank was founded on 12 September 1960. And Maybank, look at how far he had come, becoming the top regional banks. And please continue to touch the life of the people in Malaysia, Southeast Asia, and beyond by humanizing financial services.
Thank you, Justin. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And yes, happy birthday, Maybank.
From all of us at CFA Society Malaysia. The second panelist is Dr. Kao from Malaysia Digital Economy Corporations, MDEC. Kao and I know each other for a while. We've been exchanging some thoughts and views of various topics. I can testify that he's certainly a big advocate in the areas of big data analytics and artificial intelligence. Is particularly instrumental in driving data analytics framework and artificial intelligence at the national level for the country. Looking forward to hear your thoughts, leadership, Doctor.
All right. Thank you, Justin. I'll be very happy to be here to share my thoughts and ideas in this area.
Great. Last but not least, we have a gentleman who is dialing in, right? A prominent CFA chartered holder, Evan Chia. He's the Executive Vice President with Sunway Berhad. And Evan, congratulations on a recent acquisitions of Credit Bureau Malaysia, right? Sunway is a big brand in Malaysia and is a very well-diversified conglomerate. And many of us grew up in the whole ecosystem, right? When I look at some of the visions of Sunway Berhad, it's aspired to building smart and sustainable community for future generations. Evan, I'm sure that the crowd today will benefit a lot from some of the visions and aspirations that you have. And people, there are three parts of forum today. That's how we are organizing it. I think the first part is really about the outlook, the economic and industry outlook, and some of the mega trend that we invite panelists for their view. Second is really based on those trend. How are we responding it? And what does that really mean to talent development? How should we build future ready talent for them to prepare for tomorrow, right? The last part of today is Q&A, right? So don't forget to post your questions via the link that shared with all of you in a chat box, right? So maybe I will kickstart the discussion today by looking at some of the mega trend, right? So what I have with me today is the mega trend report by one of the largest asset management company, BlackRock. In the report on mega trend, he highlighted 5 key trends here, right? Number one is climate change, which is not surprising to most of us that the world is not getting any cooler. The whole world is getting less sustainable as we live. The second trend is really about, it's observed that there's a shifting economic power from the west to the east, from Washington to Beijing. We started to see that businesses are more powerful than countries, right? Company like Facebook, YouTube, we are TikTok now, WhatsApp, they have a bigger population than most of the country in the world. The third one is really about rapid urbanization, right? So what we start to see is people moving to the major city. It start to give a lot of issue when it comes to space and accommodation. The fourth is about the demographic and social change. With aging populations that we have, the healthcare needs will be very different. We start to see deployments of robot in replacing human. And what's more interesting for financial services industry is that we are currently experiencing very low interest rate, right? And our lifespan is actually getting longer, right? In CFA Institute, we actually call it for less for more, right? We are getting less return, less income. At the same time, we need to live longer. First and right, and the last trend, which is very, very important, is around technology breakthrough, right? Tech is a trend that has been going around for a while, and trying to reflect that in what does it mean to financial services industry. In Malaysia capital market, we now have equity crowdfunding, property crowdfunding, P2P lending, digital exchanges, digital broker, digital investment management, which is what we call robot advisor. So digital trend is getting very pervasive, right? I'm sure the panelists will agree with me on that. And in the banking space, probably very close to the heart of Dato, right? We start to see that a lot of deployment of open banking, API, blockchain, machine learning, artificial intelligence, with the latest Bank Negara eKYC framework, we potentially can open an account by taking a selfie of ourselves, right? So, and one of the hottest topic in town is around digital bank, right? Where the Bank Negara will open for application very, very soon by end of the year, right? So maybe I'll invite Carl at this point to share at the national level, how do you see some of these business and digital landscape, right? Into three dimension perhaps. What have we achieved so far? And what are we doing now? And where are we heading to for the future?
Okay, thank you, Justin. First of all, if you look at the digital economy itself, right? So in Malaysia, before MCO, the digital economy contributes towards nearly more than 18% of the overall GDP, right? So, but more important thing is digital is the enabler that enables the other sector, right? So the use of digital in productivity gain, in terms of improvement of other business sectors is critical moving forward. And what COVID has done in the last couple of months is actually accelerating the adoption of digitization in businesses, right? So now businesses can no longer say that, you know, hang on, you know, and we don't need to invest in digital, but now it's a need, it's a necessity in order to move forward, right? So you look at in terms of digital perspective, we have seen tremendous growth in the last couple of months. I think a lot of businesses have take things online, using different digital tools to market themselves. Digital marketing become quite key. Services delivery through digital means is also growing as well. The e-commerce has grown tremendously in the last couple of.
Yeah, I always believe that the virus has taught us a couple of things. One of them is digital adoption.
Right. So when you look at this from MDEC standpoint, there's the three different areas that we look at when it comes to digital, right? So number one is actually there's a need to look at digitally skilled Malaysians, right? So we need to make sure that our Malaysians, all walks of life, needs to be ready when it comes to digital, right? So for recently this month, we actually launched a campaign called Saya Digital. So telling all the folks, you know, whether you are makcik pakcik in the kampung or you are in the city, you need to have some digital skills moving forward.
So to get the tagline right, is Saya Digital,
yes.
right? So hashtag Saya Digital,
right?
Interesting.
So that's number one. Number two, it's you need to make sure that our SMEs, our corporates and businesses adopt digital solutions, right? So there's actually a large push by the government through Penjana to actually give out grants to SMEs to take up digitization. At the same time as well, there's also grants given for e-commerce players to actually take up e-commerce platforms, right? So this is something which is actually critical moving forward, right? And lastly is whether you like it or not, we need to get more investment coming into the country, domestic investment, especially these days, so that companies can continue to invest in new digital services, like as I mentioned earlier on, digital bank, digital, a lot of kind of services, so that they're able to meet the demands of the growing population. Right, so there's three key things that we actually push, and so far I think the response has been very, very good. In the last 6 months, we have actually conducted a lot of campaigns around this. For example, we actually have a Go e-commerce campaign, which is actually more than 1 million people actually benefited from this. And then we also have a gig economy campaign where these are actually people work from home and also going through online platforms to actually work. And more recently, we also have a SME digitization summit as well, right? And also a digital a workforce summit. So there's a lot of different things that we actually do, going through the digital means, but reinforcing these three pillars that we're actually looking at.
Okay, interesting. So Saya Digital, you remember everyone, right? If I can move along, Evan, reflecting on what Dr. Kao has just said, right? How do you see the growth opportunity from a conglomerate perspective?
Right. I think I think most of Malaysians would know Sunway, what we do. But for the benefit of any overseas people joining the call, I wanted to share perhaps the context of our Sunway ecosystem. Basically, we have 12 business lines from B2B to B2C, and Sunway's, our flagship Sunway City, has been built from a sort of a mining land, and now it's transformed into a thriving township with hospitals, shopping malls, hotels, theme parks, and many other divisions. So we, from this sort of ecosystem, each of our business divisions actually has its own industry vertical ecosystem, and from this overall sort of ecosystem, we actually want to invest in digital businesses that can leverage this ecosystem. So, if you basically focusing on smart city technologies that power smart cities, and that is pretty all-encompassing. That's why you mentioned earlier where the CBM acquisition, where we come in as it's part of us building a fintech ecosystem to layer onto what we have already. And we feel that as we invest, a lot of people do not sort of appreciate perhaps the sort of the breadth and the depth that the Sunway ecosystem has, and the kind of risk management that we can layer on into new digital businesses that we roll out. So a lot of times, if we build a digital business from scratch, it's highly, of course, very risky because there are a lot of uncertainties. But when we layer onto our platform, we feel that the risk will be much lower. And so I felt that this is a good way for us to sort of push more into digital actually. In fact, we had some of these plans, but of course now that everyone is, there was a recent report from Bain and and Facebook where it's 5 years of they anticipated the adoption it's going to be in 2025, but now in 2020 already they say that it's more or less catching up to what they predicted in 2025 in terms of digital adoption. So in this sense, we are also going to be investing more into digital.
And moving to banking industry, right? It looks like industries having some challenging time, right? You have to combat with a low interest rate, the ongoing moratorium losses, potentially some potential default of borrowers, right? Dr. Nora, in your current leadership roles in Maybanks and in the industry, how do you see these trends, and how do you think the industry should respond to it?
Thank you, Justin. Hi, everybody. Assalamualaikum, and a very good morning. Now, I think I don't have to repeat what's happening in the environment and in the banking sector, and from a digital standpoint that Justin and Dr. Carl has mentioned, as well as Evan. So I want to emphasize a few things. I think firstly, banking is digital, right? And the proof is in the pudding, as in when the MCO hit us, right? When lockdown hit us, right? The banking was not disrupted, right? Even though we actually closed our branches because we wanted to make sure we contribute to the flattening of the curve. If we kept all our branches open, and we Maybank is in every society, every kampong, right? Then people would be converging, and then there'll be clustering and so forth. So we actually closed branches, but we have Maybank to you, right? And we have M2E for the enterprises, for the SMEs, right? So we ensured that banking wasn't disrupted. Now, what's important to understand is the evolution of banking is at a point right now, as you mentioned, because everything is digital. You can really now open an account with with your facial recognition, and we can verify you from afar. Banking is not the end; it's a means to an end. And we are happy because of our mission that you Justin, that you spoke of just now, humanizing banking. All right. It really is. I think we were. I mean, I have to apologize for if I'm sounding arrogant. I'm not. Right. It's a lot of hard work, but humanizing. We were ahead of time, I think, because like I said, banking is the means to an end, and what is the end? It's humanizing. It's well-being. Now you mentioned BlackRock. The CEO of BlackRock, right? He addressed that 3 years ago, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 2 years ago, in his letter to CEOs in January every year, right? He already talked about commerce, business with a conscience, isn't it? And we're already making traction in terms of ESG and sustainability and so forth. So it is about well-being. And we are poised to ensure that banking services or financial services is all about getting people to a state of emotional, mental, financial well-being, right? But the other thing I wanted to highlight from context standpoint is the overlay of digitization and what the tools that we have today is the other lesson that the pandemic taught us. In this current times, we all have to be in a mindset of crisis ready, right? So crisis mode, because that really is what's going to make all of us come out better from this experience. And I always say, don't let a crisis go to waste, right? What's the one example when I say mindset changes, right? Or crisis mode mindset, work from home, right? If we applied our lens from the past, from pre-COVID, right? It's so hard to get people to, accept the fact that work from home is a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. It's not something that you consider quite grudgingly when someone has a challenge in his or her personal life. Today, working from home is one of the business continuity management requirements. So we're coming from a security and safety and sustainability of business, so that business can continue in the next crisis. And you and I know, if you and I don't accelerate the ESG, the environmental aspects, we are going to have another crisis very soon, right? So work from home now, if I come back to the earlier point, is seen from a positive angle. Right? So we actually need to recalibrate how we look at things. Now, businesses are going through that as well. So the theme of the 1 week event, I must congratulate you guys, right? Leadership. Leadership is not just about leading others, it's leading yourself, which is why I wanted to talk about the mindset bit, right? You have to understand that everything is being reconfigured. Businesses are in a reconfiguration mode. So you guys need to be solution providers, right? we are looking for solution providers. We are looking for people who are glass half full, right? You understand what's happening here. You understand that nothing is as it was before, right? And so, and that's easier said than done. So what we are looking for, let me leave you with this point before you know we move on. Opportunistic. What does, you know, it comes with a negative connotation. I know that, right? And when I Googled, I said, what's the positive you know word for opportunistic? It says adaptability. Then I decided I prefer opportunistic because it gives you that crisis you know perception mindset, right? We need people who are opportunistic. We need, because you are, what does opportunistic mean? You understand, you are worldly, you understand what's happening, and you can look at solutions, possible solutions. And CFAs, you guys have one of the most prized skills that you know everybody's being trained for now. What is it? Analytical skills, right? You guys have analysis capabilities. You need to put that to work, because analysis for what, right? It's analysis paralysis. It's analysis for judgment, analysis for decisions, analysis for opportunity identification, right? And reasoning. So we look for people like you who's got that base, but then we need you to be solution minded in a crisis environment, which says that you look at everything as a positive opportunity. And the other point is really, you have to be really quick.
Yep.
Okay.
Agree.
All right. Thank
Agree.
you.
Thanks, Dato. Right. I think for opportunistics, I think my reaction is also, I think it's a mindset change that you must able to see some silver line learning, right? In every blooming environment, right? It requires a bit of mindset change, right? The way you look at certain things, you use the word half empty or half full sort of picture, right? I think that is important, right? So I think people, I think we have done the first part, which is discussing some of the outlooks and trends that we're seeing. Moving along very well. I think the second one is really looking at how are we preparing the talent for the future, right? Maybe I can kickstart the discussions by sharing some of the research done by CFA Institute, right? CFA Institute is a strong thought leader when it comes to future of finance. In short, we call them FOF, right? So in the future of finance research, CFA Institute have come to a conclusion that in the future, there will be three main changes when it comes to talent development. The first one is really change of role, right? The role that you're seeing now will be changed. In fact, in our survey, 43% of industry executives say that their role will go through some drastic change. Just what add to the complexity is really around the artificial intelligence plus human intelligence. CFA Institute call it as AI plus HI, right? So while we are working in the office today, that there are some dynamics between how people are working together. There are similarities, there are differences that we are embracing. In the future, you need to embrace how AI and HI come together, working together. I'm sure that Dato in a while will share a bit more of the digital workforce, right? That you have thought for. The second one is a change of skill set, right? We survey around what are the top skill set that's important for future talent, right? And in the skill set, we got 4 categories. One is soft skill, technical skill, the coding skill, the programming skill. The third one is about leadership skill, right? And surprisingly to note that technical skill ranked the lowest, right? As we're talking about digital, as we're talking about the technology trend, digital trend was not viewed as the top notch. And it could be something that, you know, I'm happy to get the panelist view when it comes to that. The third one is really about the change of a culture, right? So the working culture will definitely be changed and transform over the time. If I could recap, we're expecting 3 deltas here. three changes. One is come to change of the job role, change of the skill set, and change of the culture that we should be expecting that how the industry would embrace, right? Maybe we'll start with Dato' Nora, right? It's absolutely important for financial services industry to build a sustainable pool of the workforce which are ready for the future. You know, various leadership role, what strategies can an employer consider to provide a conducive environment to prepare for the future?
So, Justin, I think, you know, the points that you highlighted, in a nutshell, it's about human relations, right? And like I said, it's well-being of humans, okay? Remember the saying, I can't remember who said this, but a very wise person who said, it's not about the tech, it's what you do with the tech, right? And now we've matured enough we've come to a point where we understand really that Zoom and so forth, it didn't take off until we realize it connects us. It allows us to engage with each other. It allows me to see my loved one, right? So that really is where we are, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful because, you know, for humankind, if you studied from when we first started, moving from one industrial revolution to another, there is a lot of tuition fee that we have to pay, right? Which includes lives, right? When the locomotives and the train was designed, right? People were falling off, you know, the initial prototype, I think, and lost their lives. So it's very costly. So I'm glad that we are speedily here now where we are, because of a silver lining, COVID-19. Can you imagine that, right? I actually have a lot to thank for COVID-19 as well, yeah, as well as the pain that we've all gotten had to go through. Absolutely, absolutely. So for me, one of the top skills, you know, is about even what, you know, people saying, take up a musical instrument or something. Why? Because as we go through these changes, we have talked about this since, like, you know, at least 5 years ago. Mental health and emotional well-being is at risk because it's hard for people to grapple with all these changes around us, right? So if you ask me, what do we need to do in a corporate environment, right? It's to focus a lot more on helping people through the change, very targetedly though, right? Because you need to facilitate and ensure that people don't go into the negatives, if you like, right? I'll give you an example. When we all went into MCO, right? Okay. For the first week, I think people were unsure but excited at the same time. But then by the second week, people were going paranoid, isn't it, right? How many dishes can you cook in a day and post it on social media, right? And then, you know, people were going crazy because they were forced to almost work 24/7. There wasn't, okay, this is office time and then this is family time. So what we did was we rolled out at least 4 programs, Justin, at that time, that took care of all the faculties that I was mentioning, right, in terms of the well-being. So firstly, for example, we had the hashtag 7-minute challenge. What was that about? And all with the digital tools that we have, right? So we said, guys, take care of your physical well-being. Because it's no joke. I mean, there was a lot of cartoons going around saying, okay, post MCO, everybody comes out with, you know, an obese physique, right? So we said, no, every day, 7 minutes, exercise with your family, post it, and then we, you know, give presents and all that, right? So physical fitness, and then mental fitness. So we had hashtag work from home. Every day we guided them, right? We said, okay, today post where you're working, right? It could be under your staircase, you know, because not all of us are blessed with, you know, palatial homes, right? Yeah. So we wanted reality. Or it's beside your favorite plant in your porch in your apartment, right? It's okay. But we are guiding people to have some stability, right? So in the organization, we are futurizing the workplace, we are futurizing the workforce, right? and futurizing infrastructure. That's very important. All three have to come together. Infrastructure means in a company, right? It's not the roads and everything, but it is the policy. Your policies have to enable this, right? And then your process, your tools, and so forth. That forms the infrastructure. Then you talk about, you know, how to make sure that people are skilled and so forth, right?
Thanks, Dato. And moving along to Dato Kao, right? Spider-Man say great responsibility, great power come with great responsibility. And MDAC, if you look at the vision, right, MDAC, it has a lot, right? It has a lot to prepare for the world-class digital economy, right? What are some of the advice that you could give to the future talents, the young professional that we have on the line? What are the top skill set that you think that they should acquire to differentiate themselves, to prepare them for the future?
Okay. So first of all, you know, MDAC actually, if you look at the tech talent development, we are involved in the whole spectrum of development, right up from the you know, primary school, secondary school, universities, working professionals, and latent workforce, right? So for each of this, we actually work together with the relevant stakeholders like Ministry of Education, Higher Education, with the Human Resources Development Fund, now PKSO, and various ministries and agencies, trying to streamline and to make sure that we actually have the world-class talent when it comes to tech talent, right? So, if you look at, you know, some of the skill sets which is required moving forward, you know, I mean, currently the you know, the coding skills, programming skills are critical, not only for because of the, you know, the logical thinking required, but also I think it also enabled people to be more analytical as well, right? So I think moving forward, as what Dato' Nora mentioned, you know, having the right analytical skills are really crucial moving forward, because, you know, moving forward, the world is changing and we need more flexible people who can problem solve and to analyze things and come up with solutions, right? And also, I think when it comes to working in different sectors, I think as a CFA, you need to open up your eyes as well. That there's a lot of opportunity, not just in the financial sectors, not the traditional investment banks, you know, banking or those other areas. There's also opportunity in a traditional company as well. You know, for example, in the global business services, increasingly, you know, financial professionals are working in these sectors, and this sector is actually growing. You know, despite MCO and whatnot, you know, the other sectors are shrinking, but this sector is actually growing because things are done digitally, and jobs are actually available in these sort of sectors. The other non-traditional sectors are, you know, the startup. You know, there's a lot of companies are going into fintech, for example, right? So these areas are also growing, and they need, you know, expertise, people that has the financial sort of skill sets, right? And to be able to help them to grow this particular area, right? So the startup, and lastly, it's the gig economy, right? So if you have certain skill sets and you're able to work, you know, through a particular platform and do projects or gig sort of work for other people as well, right? So there's actually you know, different skill sets required, right? And also I think currently the skills are not just very targeted at financial, so you need to have digital skills as well, right? So you know, you need to have some basic digital skills, like for example, you have digital marketing skills enable you to look at other areas, right? Marketing in the financial sort of world, right? If you have analytics or data science skills, enable you to do, you know, financial data analysts, of your greater skill sets, then you can become a financial data scientist to look at different roles, right? For example, look at credit scoring, looking at risk management by using data, right? So this is actually type of the skill sets required moving forward, and it's not just the financial skills, but also a combination of financial, digital, plus others as well, right? In order for you to be more competitive and differentiate yourself with others.
So broadly speaking, right, I think what I'm hearing is that I think there are three broad skill. One is about analytical skill. Second one is about the soft skill. The third one is more programming, the coding, the technical skill, right? How would you personally rank it from 1 to 3? I mean, the best sort of talent we're looking for is the talent we have all, right? But if you were to rank them, what would be your first? How would you rank them? Who will be your number 1 and number 2 and 3?
What was your number 2?
Number 1 is your analytical skill, soft skill being number 2. Third one is the coding skill, right?
Okay.
For some of our people on the line.
Okay. Now I'm going to overrule the chair because soft. I want to rank the number 2 first, but I call it human skills.
Human skill.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I'm a chartered accountant, so I'm qualified to say this. For the longest time, people underestimate what hard skills and soft skills are. Actually, I would switch it now that I've done both, right? I've done the technical, and I'm a science student anyway, right? But I'm also doing HR, right? Human relations and so forth. Humans are harder, and humans are the potential, which is why, yes, absolutely, it's number 2. You can be an expert in the number 1 and number 3, right? Analytical, and you are the best coder in the world. You are the best data scientist in the world. But can you solve the problems of the world? Can you make sure that everybody has food on their table? So you have to, you have to put the number 1 first, number 2 first at the top, because like I said just now, it's the ends to means to an end. The end always have to come back to humans. Humans has to be successful. Humans have to have, finances at their disposal. We don't want wars, isn't it? Yeah, the worst version of humans is when we're hungry, isn't it? Then we start fighting, right, with each other. So and if you guys come to me, I mean, you have a session later or before this on CV and stuff. I don't look for it. You can show me, 100 certificates and professional qualifications, but what I want to see is, what have you done? How have you solved some of the problems that was in front of you? Who have you helped, right? Who have you helped from not able to take care of himself or herself? Now he or she is able to sell some things via the internet, right? And therefore earning some income. My goodness, if you show me those, I'll pick you over someone who's got, a long list of qualifications. So that's my long answer, Justin.
Great. Human skill. Carl?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'm actually a professional engineer, right? So technically, I'm actually technically inclined. But I think as you move along, you recognize that I think the human skills are critical, because right now, technology can do a lot of things, right? For example, AI can replace a lot of jobs of people, right? But if you look at purely from a technical standpoint, yes, you want everyone to be replaced. But then if you look at human perspective, if everyone is done by robots, what would the human be doing? Right? Someone, they need work, they need to make sure, etc. Right? So you need to make sure that, there's certain things that can be performed by a human and best performed by a human, and this will continue. And you need to make sure that the human aspect of things are taken care of.
Great. Evan, back to you. Now we got a bit of consensus in the room. Don't feel pressure though, right? Analytical skill, soft skill, and coding, the technical skill. Which is your pick?
Yeah, I think for Sideway, I mean, maybe I'll just share in context what we look out for. I think ultimately we want to find a sense of purpose for any of the candidates, or someone who we potentially hire. For example, I mean, at the group, we are actually basically building infrastructure for people to get places, to place different places, building homes and cities that people would love to live in. even saving lives during the, this current health crisis with our hospitals. We're trying our best. And so, what we look for is people who actually have a sense of purpose of, creating a better society. And that's what we feel is, would drive these people to do better. And of course, in terms of being more specific into your categories, I think for us, for early career people who look for a job with us, we actually want to find the drive and the ambition. Of course, most important is the person must have some level of, drive to want to do something better. And if we can show that, that will, help them to sort of develop the other skills. If there's no drive, that, everything else just, it will be difficult for them to develop. Yeah. And the other point would be learning agility. These two areas, learning agility meaning, how they can actually adapt and learn things quickly. Of course, for example, maybe Carl is an engineer, if he does a CFA, so you're an engineering background and then you do a CFA, so it shows that you are actually able to cross different areas of expertise. And I felt that also, not all of us are like geniuses. So, we also look for resilience in a sense, because if you try, you fail, you grit your teeth and you do it again, you keep doing it until you get it through. That is also something that we also like for early career sort of applicants. So if we can find some of these qualities, this will be something that we would really like. Of course, as you move along, then the soft skills is definitely important, I would feel. Like soft skills, for example, when you move up the ladder, how do you sort of organize people to get things done? People who don't report to you, your peers, external partners, how do you organize it and get the things done? So, I feel, I guess it's a combination of skills. And I suppose the softer skills, for you to move up, you would need probably more softer skills because you got to handle a lot of people, unless you're on a specialist path. And, a word of advice to any of the early career candidates out there is to really, try to sort of, come out of your comfort zone and try to do things where it's not your traditional, a lot of times we see some of the analysts come and they say, oh no, I don't want to do this, I only want to do certain specific areas which are like, then that we will say, that you are not open to, sort of trying new things. And today's world, I think if you're only doing what you think that, you're very rigid about things, then there's a lot of risk, because you need to adapt into new roles that are being created, with the disruption using AI and technology. And, I do agree that, there's some level of human intelligence that we need. And if we just rely on the AI, and then, we will become obsolete, I suppose. So yeah, overall, I would rank analytical and soft skills. I think that they are relatively important. The technical skills, it's a given, and, most of us do well in those areas.
Yeah, and agility, right? To
Yes.
being able to learn the new skill and all, right? Yeah. And when I took notice of our change of management from Maybank as well, you keep rotating your ESCO a little bit, right? CFO becoming a CEO, CEO becoming a CFO, CRO becoming a CEO in Singapore. So people actually move around, and I'm sure even at their age they have to keep learning the new stuff, right? To keep them going. Evan, the last question for you, right? I'm personally curious, under the umbrella of Sunway, obviously you have a diverse lines of business, right? From property to constructions to retail mall to hospital to colleges to some of the financial services businesses that you guys into. What is your talent management strategy? Do you rotate people around across the business line? Or how are you currently handling that?
Right. For us, I think our talent development strategy, we are relatively quite focused on that. Essentially, we have leaders that are open-minded. Our top management has been with us for many years, and building businesses from zero to market leadership position. And at the same time, they have the open-mindedness, the depth and the breadth part where, we are willing to try new businesses and how, try and figure out how to do well in them. So, if we have strong leaders, seen from the top leadership, I think we try to sort of pass some of these capabilities, to the next level. So I think what we do is we do a lot of, the leaders actually spend quite a lot of time in the annual, the talent reviews. So we do it annually, and we discuss all our leaders and talk about how what they could do better, what are the areas that they excel at, and we try and move them into roles where they can do better for themselves. And of course, that one is for more like a mid-level sort of management. Of course, for the more junior ones, we actually have, of course, normal like management associate sort of programs where we get our senior leaders to actually engage them, talk to them, to sort of inspire them, and also give some words of wisdom to them for the more junior people in our organization. Right. Of course, at the same time, we are fortunate, that we have the education arm, the Summer University Summer Education Group. So where they have strong links to good universities like Harvard, Oxford and Cambridge, and we do a lot of collaboration programs and leadership programs, so that at least we benchmark, set a high standard of benchmark for leadership. So so that when we have all these programs here, we actually encourage our younger generation, staff to go and attend and learn from the best actually. So for us,
you're keeping your leader on your toes as well.
yes, exactly. So so overall, I think our senior leadership is very passionate about our people, and they walk the talk. So it puts us all, we feel very inspired to be part of the team.
Great, thanks, Evan. There are some interesting questions coming in, right? Some of them came in. So the top voted questions, and it shouldn't be a surprise to the panel, right? There's a perceptions about tech and automation will result in more digital workforce, right? And those who are not adopting it will likely to be left behind, right? How are we reducing the fear that our job will be taken away, right? So, Dato, you know, try
in ensuring that nobody's left behind. Because when we talk about digital workforce, okay, it's not just code. We're not talking about the tech skills only, It's not just people who are going to be coding. But of course, we from the board members to the excos, we actually went through Python, okay? And yes, about learning, we do that too. I mean, 2 years ago, I went to, this is not conferences and conventions where you go for the tea and coffee, right? We actually go to Harvard. I went to Harvard and I took AMP. That's very serious study. And 4 months ago, I got myself into a chartered banker, certification, right? Thank you. So you just have to make sure that you have the relevant skills, you have the relevant abilities, and not just because competence, please, everybody must know the formula of competence. You are only competent when you have the skill plus knowledge plus attitude. That's why I started with the mindset, because everybody talks about one part of the formula only, right? And I think, Evan, well done. You also highlighted it as well as Dr. Carl. So you guys need to, be receptive to what the four of us are saying here, okay? So there will be people who are going to be using digital tools, but then focusing on human roles. Okay, if you look at the banks, what are the growth areas right now when it's not in terms of digital solutions? It's actually wealth management, and they need wealth managers. We need wealth managers who actually are able to advise people to grow their wealth using. They are of course equipped with digital tools, right? So don't worry. All right, you have to find your what is your strengths, and be open to being taught how the new role is going to be. Okay, I think that's the open-mindedness that Evan was also highlighting earlier. Okay, so do make sure that you are relevant. I think that's the most important aspect. Now, for CFAs and chartered bankers, right? What I have a lot of faith in is the fact that I'm pretty sure that all of you are have this at the top of your minds. You have been told to conform and to pledge on ethics. Okay, so integrity and ethics is the tenet of what you do. So I'm therefore, very, very happy to be able to talk to you about this and talk to you about being opportunistic and all that, because it has to be anchored on integrity, right? And values. But when you have that, you find ways to evolve into the new roles that are required. So please focus on that.
So thanks for the reassurance, Dato. And Dato, you remember last year we actually spoke in an event, in an industry event organized by Deloitte, right? You coined this term that's called job role will make redundant, but people will not.
Yeah.
I find it's quite relevant. I thought of calling that out to share with the people here as well, right? Your job role may change. Your job role will be obsolete, will be superseded. It's the people that will not be obsolete, right? Coming back to the Evan point in terms of the agility to learn, right? Constantly adapting to new change. I think that's kind of important.
So if I may just highlight the fact that even credit evaluation, for example, right? Of course, we'll be using as much artificial intelligence as possible, right? But at the end of the day, judgment has to be made by a human being, right?
That's true. You need a credit committee still, right?
Yeah, well, maybe a different form, but yes, on the go, right? So, all roles and everybody has to move one level up simply because of digitalization, because as Dr. Carl was highlighting, the basic stuff can be automated. The basic stuff can be coded. Yeah, you can write an algorithm on it. Then everybody lifts yourself up. So even in college and so forth, you don't have 101 anymore. Okay, because 101 is taken over by machines, right? Then you lift yourself up. But the other thing I wanted to highlight was, in order for you to be relevant, you need to be digital literate. And what does that mean? It's like be able to speak English, right? When we Merdeka, right? When we were post-independence, our wise forefathers and foremothers said, guys, if we want to compete in the world, right? In the global platform, you guys better be able to speak English, right? So today, if you want to be relevant and compete and have a role, right, in future, you have to be digital literate. And that does not mean you can blurt out blockchain, algo, deep learning. That's not what it means. It means, again, means to an end. It means you must know how do you use machine learning to solve a particular problem and so forth, right? Okay, thank you.
Next questions potentially will direct to Dr. Kao, and the rest of the panelists can come in. What's the view on the future of blockchain in Malaysia, right? Given your national job that you're having. Putting aside cryptocurrency, will blockchain revolutionize and shape a new framework in financial services sector?
Okay, so if you look at, blockchain is actually a means towards an end, right? So like any other technology, it actually serves a certain purpose, right? So so I think what's important here is, what problem that you're solving, right? So if the problem is big enough, and if the problem is big enough, and whether they are demand for this, and also whether it's makes sense in terms of ROI to actually embark on this infrastructure. Of course, you have legacy issue and whatnot, right? So sometimes it requires a crisis to change the way that you actually work and to accelerate the adoption. Same like digital, in the past, people do not want to invest, but now people have no choice but to invest, right? So what's a big problem that blockchain is trying to solve, right? So if the problem is big enough, yes, it will move forward, right? I think like any other technology as well, right? Like AI, for example, is talent and productivity an issue, right? It is, right? And this is why a lot of companies are going into this area, and the technology gets take up, and then and it actually moves along the way, right? So same like anything else, technology actually adoption is basically based on this sort of principles.
Yep. And interesting enough, I think last week I met some of the blockchain founder, right? I look at some of the value proposition they're trying to solve in Southeast Asia. It's kind of interesting. I wanted to call it out to share with everyone in this room here, right? So one of them I met, you're trying to use blockchain to keep the authentications of your uni certificate, right? You know how it's very related to human resource department, right? How do you know the certificate that you get is original, is real, right? And by producing the hard copy and you cite to the photocopy and we try to foolishly tell ourselves that it's actually real, that sort of authentications process has to go, right? And over the time, think about it, at the end of university, there's an ongoing maintenance work that's going on, right? Because we need to keep replacing it in case you lose it, right? Yep. As and when you move houses, you move out of the country, you move back, university certificate is forever in a folder that we need to carry wherever we are, right? So I think really depending the problem that you're trying to solve is big enough, I think will speed up the adoptions, right?
And also whether the problem is big enough and whether there's actually investment going into it as well. I think when Google came out, there's a lot of hundreds and thousands of search engine. And why is Google successful? Because they're able to attract the right investors, and then that actually grows.
Yep.
Right. So the same as well. You know, the solution may not, it may not be that good, but you're able to solve the right problem and get the right investment to scale rapidly as fast as they can. And it actually makes sense from an investment standpoint. Yep. This is where you hit the nail when it comes to scaling.
Great. And the other one is very interesting, very excited to share with you is your identity, right? So just now, before we came in, we had to register at the security counter, right, in Bangsar South, right? So this is about you carry identity with you wherever building you go to. Authentication is the same, so they know exactly this. Dato Nora, this exactly is Dr. Kao, right? You don't have to produce an IC, fill out the form, and send it out, right? So I think if blockchain can solve some of these big thing, the adoptions will be fast, right? Evan, interestingly, one question that I thought would be interesting for you to answer, since you're running an university as well, right? I always remember Sunway tagline, right? A class above, right? So one of the top questions here is that, is a degree still relevant, right? Is a degree still the entry take care for future workforce? While what we are studying in university may not be relevant by the time we enter into the workforce. And if it's so, what are the educations that will prepare us better? What are some of the thoughts and reactions?
But on this, I mean, I would, give an opinion. I mean, it depends on what you want to do, right? So, some people can even drop out and be very successful, like Steve Jobs or something like that. If you think you can be Steve Jobs, right? But if you want to pursue a career in, let's say, corporate, let's say Fortune 500 or even Malaysian top corporates, probably right at this moment, a degree is important because that is what is currently acceptable to most, in a kind of corporate jobs. Of course, the other end of the sort of the extreme end would be, the other end of the spectrum would be, Son, there's this guy called Taizo Son, based out of Singapore. He's the brother of Master Yossi, and he told me that his son, he doesn't even send his son to any formal education. It's just play, and he's all this new way of thinking and all this. So I thought that was a little bit extreme, even at such a young age. You don't even go to school. So, but they are willing to. He's willing to take that kind of sort of forward thinking, sort of extreme sort of scenario, which I do not advise for people. But I'm just saying there are people out there who do that, and perhaps they could be successful. We don't know when the child grows older. But for us, I think most of us, I would suggest it's also like risk management, right? You get a degree, and then you can go and do all the the tech certs. For example, we have our 42 school, which is a free for all school, which is within the tech industry design curriculum for programming, which we are launching. We soft launched last month. So those are all add-ons to your traditional degree, where you can actually get into the sort of the digital career path. So in the end, it depends on what you want to do, and you know, I would advise that a degree is still relevant for now. But in 10 years' time, we do not know. But for now, yes, you know, to get a proper employment, unless you want to do your own company and things like that.
Yeah, I do agree based on that. But then there's increasingly especially in the tech sort of industry, there's a lot of non-traditional roles which is become more available, right? For example, and also there's also new means of teaching as well. Like for example, I think the 42 school basically provides free learning and a project-based, team-based sort of approach. And often, you know, the industry hired even without degree. Right.
Yes.
And increasingly, like some of the new roles within the industry, you know, like for example, you have companies that drone, for example, right? And drones are not taught in schools, right? So companies are hiring, you know, drones into CS, you know, people that are very keen on drones, and they hired them even without degree qualifications. You know, I have one person that was hired fresh from school, and then is earning like a 5-digit salary. Right. So you know, I think most important thing is if you're passionate in the area that you do and you are the best in your class, I think, you know, companies will hire you if they require that skill set.
Agree.
I think,
That's all. I mean, being chief human capital officer, I mean, obviously you do recruitment drive, interviewing almost on daily basis, right? How would you value university certificate?
Well, firstly, I think, you know, this is what I'm engaged in as well. I don't just preach, right? So I do get myself involved in the universities as well, in the academia. But the most important thing is we need to update what we teach. I think that's what the person who's asking the question also is asking, because knowledge is democratized, right? You and I, we can Google a lot of things, right? And when I Google, I actually tested this. When I Google credit evaluation, everything that comes out is covered in a 3-year program. Okay, and I could actually get the topics, like, you know, at least. So that's the 101 that I was saying just now. The 101s need to be, you know, to be changed. So that's the first thing. Second thing, for many years now, even in Maybank, right, we have a policy where we don't look at CGPA, right? But yes, a degree, we do take it seriously, because the process of learning in a campus, right, the pursuit of systematic knowledge building gives us a comfort in terms of a minimum level. But that's it, you know, as far as I'm concerned. As long as you have a degree or a diploma, fine, right? I'm not even interested in your CGPA, to be honest, right? Because then I'm interested in you as a person, right? Which is why I mentioned just now, what do you have in your portfolio? So in the future, as an employer, even today, it's no longer just your CV. Because let me tell you, as a recruiter, right, I fall asleep looking at CVs because you all look the same. Okay, right? So how do I differentiate you guys, isn't it? Right? So the portfolio, you know, many years ago, many professions ago, I was actually lecturing, and I taught the AAT UK, Association of Accounting Technicians UK. Right? I think that was brilliant because they were ahead of time. That was a long time ago, but they were portfolio building, right? Accounting technicians, they portfolio build. So that is the CV of the future. You guys go around with a portfolio, which is what I was saying just now. What you've achieved in college or in life and so forth. That goes beyond certification, right?
Certainly. Great. And coming back to the skill set that we ranked just now, right? I think human skill set came out fast, right? I'm mindful that we are running a bit behind time. Right? I think we'd like to thank all the panelists for parting their knowledge and sharing. If I could do a conclusion here, I think we all agree that the future is here, right? The virus has brought the future forward, right? And the second point I think would kind of highlight is that don't waste the crisis. I think it has taught us a few things. It has speed up the digital adoptions. Dr. Nora shared that crisis management should be the mindset moving forward. When you're in a crisis, you're always on your toes, right? And we also discuss amongst the skill set that are important, right? We talk about human skill set, the technical skill set, the analytical skill set. Those three are very important. But we deliberated a lot in terms of the human skill set. And everyone shared a lot in terms of the agility in learning and adapting to the environment, the drive and the ambitions. And more importantly, guys, I think it's about making the impact and touching life of people in the community that you serve, right? So guys, I think we'd like to conclude the forum and build a purpose-led career. So design your career, don't live your career by default. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
And there's a housekeeping rules here. I think there will be a survey link sent to you. And I think there will be a barcode display on the screen as well. I hope you enjoy the week-long career carnival that we have arranged for you guys. And do send us a feedback how we could improve the future event by delivering more values to the people in Malaysia.